Good evening and welcome to UCU Live. I'm Quinn Roach, Acting Head of Equality and Policy at UCU, and I am sure you know who is with me, but to end any doubt, it's a person I admire greatly. It's Jo Grady, General Secretary of UCU.
Thanks, Quinn.
And we're in Anger Week, part of the build-up to our HE ballot, and this event is called University Money Wasting Shame. What are we going to do about it?
What are we going to do about it?
Now, this is a new setup for us, and this is my first event, so please bear with us if we have any technical difficulties. And also note, if you need closed captions, you can get them on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. You cannot on Twitter. So if you need them, please move to a place where you can get them. Now, tonight is going to be angering and empowering because we're not helpless. We're comrades, and so with that in mind, let us know where you're watching and how long you've been a member in the chat and in the comments. And please don't forget to tag your colleagues and share the link on your WhatsApp groups and across all social media. I'm sure you've guessed by now that this session is about why we're angry, why we need to stay angry, and more importantly, what we can do about it. And with that, I'll hand over to Jo.
So I'm Jo, and I've been a member since 2007. Hi everyone, welcome to the second of our live events, UCU Live for UCU Rising ballot campaign. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in, especially if you are a second-time viewer and you're here first time around. So I just wanted to say a little bit before we get going about the theme of this evening and why you are in a safe and protected space to fully embrace your anger this evening. And let's just list it, because there's quite a lot to be angry about. We're going to be getting angry about VC pay and remuneration in general, because it's not just pay, it's often a nice little grace and favour home, presumably nice and protected from the spiralling cost of energy because you don't pay your own bills. It's the poor, horrific, disgraceful treatment of so many of our colleagues. And we're going to be having some testimony from those of you who sent it in about what life is like on the sharp end of higher education. Pensions robbery for those of you who are in USS. We're going to be getting angry about the shameful strike pay deductions that we've seen at some of our universities, not least of all Queen Mary. A multitude of disputes. We call it 4 fights, but we know it could be many, many more. And really, really talking that through. What I actually would like to do is thank those of you who've been using the pay modeler and the financial tools that we put out. If you haven't used it yet, the link is going to be available to you. Please do that. Those of you who've been using it already this week have been getting in touch, have been sharing your experiences. I mean, we might actually just be able to share some of those with you now. If you use the pay modeler, you'll be able to see you are getting paid potentially £7,000 or £9,000 less than you would have been getting if 2009 rates had carried on. For some people, this goes up to £12,000, £13,000, £15,000 that your pay has depreciated in value that you would have been getting. So if you're wondering why you can't afford a mortgage, you can't afford a home, that's because literally the chunk of money that you would have been paid if your salary had kept in line with RPI has been taken away. I think that's a really good reason to be angry. I think it's a good reason to be seething that employers, that universities, who we know have been hoarding money, some of our press work this week, which again, we're going to talk about later, £4.6 billion that they're pumping into vanity projects. That's the money that's been redirected away from your salary, from your wages, and from being able to live more fulfilling lives outside of the university, whatever it is you do there. With all that said, we know that being right doesn't necessarily get us anywhere. And that's why we're running this ballot, to kind of try and turn our indignation and our anger about what is happening into action in this ballot. So that's a big part of what we're doing tonight. Settle in, get comfy, get angry. Quinn?
Yeah, no, great. I think, one thing we know is important to our members, to UCU as a whole, and actually the whole HE sector, is that we generate really good press coverage of what the key issues facing the sector are. And with that in mind, we wanted to share some of that coverage with you. So what we have, and it should be showing now, the express threat of strike Excellent. We have The Guardian, the surplus to raise pay or face strikes. We have the FT, which said UCU calls for more money, for more investment in staff. Damn right, we call for
We
more
do,
investment
absolutely,
in staff.
FT, yeah.
We've got the Morning Star.
Universities waste money on needless projects. Absolutely. I think if you work in a university, you definitely know needless projects that money has been wasted on. We've got the Times. Academics prepare for strike vote. We are 2 weeks into a pre-ballot campaign. The Mail, 4.6 billion university vanity project splurge. I have a little bit of an issue with this word splurge, because for me, splurge is when I buy all the cheese in Marks and Spencer's. It's not when I spend 4.6 billion pounds on vanity projects, or like 20 million pounds on a campus in New York that 100 students graduate from. That ain't a splurge, in my opinion.
A bit more. We got the Yorkshire Post, scrap vanity projects, and then hot off the press, the Tribune.
University have screwed over their staff for too long.
Thank you, Tribune.
Thank you, Tribune.
And impressive as that is, we also wanted to take a moment to tell about the full impact of what's happening to our members and to really explore their experiences. So let's just take a moment and reflect on what you have told us. So we're going to read some of the stories out, and we can kind of reflect on them. So we have a lecturer at the University of Aberdeen. They say, I'm struggling to pay my bills after moving home because we're expecting our firstborn in October. I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah, and I think that won't be an isolated case.
No. We have a lecturer, I love this job, or at least what this job is supposed to be, but it's not possible to do that job right now due to the teaching workloads. In 2 years, this job has destroyed my mental health, and I can't allow that to continue.
And I think what's really distressing about that is actually how common we get that from you as members. We did a survey earlier this year about people who were intending to leave the sector because of how bad it was, and the rates were alarming. And the fact that a workload crisis is pushing a mental health crisis, that cannot be concealed anymore by vice chancellors and by kind of rotten managerial models in HE.
No, and morning yoga isn't going to help.
No, a well-being llama that you can stroke, once every freshers week.
Yeah, and of course, it's outrageous, and the thing you've got.
Well, it's insulting actually to someone who is, saying this is destroying my mental health.
Yeah, completely. We have a senior lecturer at the University of Chester. They say, I'm scared to make future plans for my family in case I lose my job. The only thing that gets me through this is the absolute joy of seeing students progress and my amazing colleagues.
Yeah.
We've got more of these kind of experiences. We have a lecturer at the University of Stirling. Totally miserable. My workload is totally unmanageable, and I have no support beyond sympathy. And sympathy is not going to cut it. Sympathy does not pay the bills or improve your mental health.
No. What's this one?
Here we have an administrator at the University of Essex. My family's gas and electric direct debit has just gone up from £169 to £329 a month. Our mortgage fixed is coming to an end, and we know we'll be paying more soon, but our pay is falling further and further behind.
And this is what I think is really important for people to remember about this campaign. We are not asking for something that is unachievable. As we just said, and we've seen reported in the press all week, £4.6 billion spent on vanity projects. And I know that all of you out there in a university will be able to think immediately of some needless building, some monument to a VC that has been put about. What we're talking about is the revenue that is generated by us as staff since 2009 has systematically been directed elsewhere. So this isn't staff being greedy or grubby. This is staff literally saying, I'm having to uproot my life because I can't afford to live here anymore with my child and my partner. I cannot pay my bills or my mortgage anymore because of this situation. And that is despite the fact that it is literally our labour in universities that make things happen. And that's why we're here asking for proper pay and pay that is actually commensurate with where we should be and with the effort and energy that you put in. And it's one of the reasons we're asking for people to be moved off these disastrous fixed term and insecure contracts, because there is more than enough work, as we all know, to go around and employ everyone properly, securely, and with dignity.
Just two more. We have a member at UAL, and talking about fixed term contracts, they say, I'm just going to my 8th year as a 0-hour paid lecturer at UAL. I've asked for a permanent contract every year, though each year I've received a politely worded no. I feel at a loss as to what I can do. We have a lecturer at Oxford Brookes. I've worked in higher education for over 10 years on a series of short fixed-term contracts. I've moved all over the country for work. I had a second job to deal with the uncertainty and knowing if I would be able to pay my bills and mortgage.
And again, I think that is not something that's uncommon. And I know those of you watching it will know that that's not uncommon. A lot of our casualised members often have several contracts just to make ends meet. There are more and more of these testimonies that come in from members all the time. This week, we've been focusing a lot on Vice-Chancellor pay, on the money that is squandered in universities that should and could be directed to us as staff and other student-facing activities. But one of the things that we've also been doing this week is taking our story, if you like, of what happens in higher education to the public. We know that when we tell people about what life is like in higher education, people are usually pretty shocked. They're shocked about the extent to which our students get into eye-watering levels of debt, but they're also shocked about the extent that teaching, that pastoral support, that administrative support, that support in the library, all of the stuff that you do is being done by people on such low pay and often with no employment security. So in addition to all of the stuff we've already been through, we've been doing something else that I'm going to be showing you in a second. We've been getting our campaign out there on the streets to the public directly and asking them what they think a Vice-Chancellor is paid and whether or not they think how much they are paid is fair, particularly in contrast to what you get. So let's play the video.
Hi, I'm Jo Grady, the General Secretary of UCU, and today we are in Brighton. We've come to the fun fair, but we're not playing a very fun or indeed fair game. Welcome to how much these university vice-chancellors were paid last year. Just remind me how much you said?
150.
150.
Okay.
Louise is actually paid £459,000.
What? No way.
Yeah.
I can everybody be worth that kind of money.
Working
As
for
a
university.
vice-chancellor, which is a university vice-chancellor. That's education.
She's got nice lipstick, hasn't she?
Beautiful.
Yes, very beautiful woman.
Goodness me.
Get that.
Wow.
Lots of people do probably a bit more work than they do, and they're still earning this amount of money and not cutting. They're cutting the other people's job pensions and wages just to keep their 6-bedroom houses.
So I'm guessing you don't think it's fair then?
I don't think it's fair at all. What?
Do you think that's fair?
No. He makes more than the Prime Minister twice over.
Wow,
Do you just say how much that is?
Wow, I certainly can. Blinking heck. I wasn't expecting that.
I imagine they don't do as much work as lecturers would do on a daily basis, and yet they get paid, what is it, 10 times more?
He says 398,000!
Oh, I thought it was 39. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Paul Boyle is the highest paid public sector worker in Wales.
Oh, okay.
No.
Wowzers.
It's sad. You would think one of them could have stood out and said, no, I don't agree with this, and I'm going to take a salary that I think is at the right level because I believe in my institution and what we're trying to achieve here.
There's lots I don't know about it. I only know how much is being charged of students and how their debt just keeps escalating.
More investment in the education, more investment in the educators.
Yeah.
You know, the people that actually dedicate their time
Yeah.
to educate the nation. Those are the taxpayers.
Support the people that give you a good reputation.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that, if that's the right word. I've just seen that one of the comments is that the wall of VC faces is the scariest thing I've ever seen. All I can say to that person is imagine standing in front of it for 5 hours. But please do let us know what you think of the video in the comments, wherever it is you are watching this. It is really important that we get this video shared, that we spread the word about genuinely how out of whack VC pay is compared to the people who actually make universities work and function. So share it, quote tweet it with "I'm voting yes." If you haven't engaged with the pay modeler and the financial tool that we put on our website, please do that as well. But yeah, the video will be going live once this event is finished. We need you to share it completely.
I think, Joe, it's a really good time. We've had a couple of, to stop and pause for a moment. We've had a couple of questions in, literally handed on a handwritten card. And I'm told that one of them is from our ambassadors. So let me ask them to you now. Yeah. We can kind of address that. So the first question is, what should we tell members if they express concern about the cost of living crisis and taking action? And I understand this question was from Swansea Uni.
Okay. I mean, let's level. Everybody is concerned about a cost of living crisis. Some of the testimonies that Quinn just read out were clear that people can't financially function anymore. But what I would say is, and this is the conversation I would sit down in Swansea or wherever else this conversation comes up, people already can't afford to stay in this job and live a life. That is clear from those testimonies. In that sense, there is little to lose for somebody already in that situation than taking part in this campaign and balloting and saying yes for strike action. We want to create such a historic turnout and such leverage that we don't have to have people on picket lines for days and days. And that's why this ballot and this campaign is historically different to any that you may have been involved in recently. But the bottom line is, you can't afford not to be in this campaign. And we've already had stories that have made that crystal clear. So we all need to act together, vote together, stand up together, and demand and extract from our employers even just a portion of that 4.6 billion that they are currently squandering, rather than putting it in our pockets, investing in staff and investing in students.
Thank you, Joe. It's really important. I think the next question is really timely. It looks like it's coming from a few people. But they've asked if our ballot will be impacted by the CWU action.
That is a really good question. And was actually something that when we saw our comrades in the CWU were announcing action, we did think about. But if you look at the timings of our ballot and when it will be arriving, so the ballot is coming out in first class post. The ballot should be with the majority of members on the 7th of September. So there shouldn't be a delay in the ballot getting to you. We're going to be holding events before the ballot, so I want everyone to be excited about it. Ballot on the 7th. And obviously our friends in the CWU are taking a day of action the following day. So there will be disruption and a delay in that ballot getting back to Civica for you, but there should not be any delay in getting it to you on the day and you filling it in and getting it straight in the post box. Whilst we're talking about the CWU, you will have seen, hopefully, that we have produced 2 posters. We'll put the link so that you can access them. One is a poster if you are a UCU member who is currently involved in a ballot or will be involved in a ballot. We've designed this poster because, one, obviously we want to show solidarity to your postie, but we also want your postie to know that, because they will know what a ballot's like because they've done their own recently, we want your postie to know that it's you and that they need to take extra special care of your ballot. And then we've done obviously one because we don't want anyone to be left out for people who are not taking part in a ballot, because we have some UC members that aren't, but want to show their solidarity anyway. And one more thing, in response to the beautiful solidarity that UCU members have been showing the CWU, we actually got a rather special video earlier from a quite famous CWU member. You might know them. Let's play the video.
Your favourite postie here, Pat. This is a message to all my friends at the UCU. I know you are about to ballot for strike action. Thank you for supporting us posties, and I want to wish you good luck in your fight. We will deliver those ballot papers and we cannot wait to collect and return them. We know if you stick together, you will win the ballot. Thanks and good luck.
Wasn't that great?
That was really nice.
But to take us down from that, I think it's actually important to talk about something else that's really concerning our members. And I think we've talked about pay, but we haven't talked about something else that's making them really, really angry, and that's pensions. I just thought I'd hand over to you to kind of talk a bit about that.
Yeah. So obviously there'll be people who are watching this who are not in the pensions dispute, but for those of you who are, get ready to be angry. And for those of you who aren't, get ready to be angry. We need to be really, really clear when it comes to USS that what we have experienced as higher education workers, as USS pension scheme members, is robbery. And that really forms part of this dispute. It should make everybody angry because pensions are not a gift from your employer. They're not some sort of nice, benevolent thing that employers decided to do for us. They are part of your deferred wage. You pay a percentage of your salary into them every month, and part of your remuneration package is that your employer pays into them every month. They are yours. They are part of your past earnings. They are part of your current earnings that you are deferring, and they're going to be your earnings going forward. And that's what we have to remember. So when our employers in 2020, along with USS, insisted on pressing ahead with a reckless pandemic valuation, and then use that valuation to justify a 35% cut to the guaranteed element of your pension, we need to be clear and call it what it is, which is wage theft. Stealing your historic earnings and driving down the value of what they will be to you in the future. And our members, you, our union, were right to fight that in 2018, and we were right to oppose it in 2020. But we know being right doesn't necessarily mean that the right outcome will happen if we don't insert ourselves into that process and make it happen. So much like we've been saying, it's important to vote yes in historic numbers in pay, the same is true of pensions. One of the things that we produced today, and we're going to just show it for you now, because obviously for pay, we've got the modeler and we've got other aspects. We've created a standalone short explainer that we want you to share with your colleagues, to share with your friends, to share in your branch, push it out and make sure that people remember exactly what I've just said about pensions being a deferred wage. So we'll show that to you now. It will be available for you to share with your colleagues.
We've made a number of videos during this UC Rising campaign, but I wanted to make a short standalone one about USS, which saw cuts of up to 35% of the guaranteed element of your pension earlier this year. So there are lots of reasons to vote yes in this ballot, but even on its own, what has happened to USS would be enough. And what I also want to remind you is that your position and the position of our union since 2018 on this issue has been correct. We knew the cuts weren't necessary back in 2018 when employers tried to change it from a DB, and we knew cuts weren't necessary on the basis of a pandemic valuation. But being right doesn't mean that we get what we deserve. That pandemic valuation, our employers insisted that it happened, and now the scheme has returned to health. They are saying that they won't make changes because the market is unstable. But they didn't blink to make those changes off the back of the valuation they insisted happen. So we have all had money stolen from our pensions. And what I need you to do, what your union needs you to do, is vote yes and to take it back.
Great video. I mean, we've had loads of comments, really supportive comments on taking future action. I'm really pleased about that. And I think, hearing all those videos, seeing all those comments, hearing from members, I think it's fair to say we're all angry, we're all fed up. And the question really, Joe, is what are we going to do about it? And I think the question for our members is, are you up for doing something about it?
Yes, but I want to try something different, because if we're not all as one on this as a union, actually we're in trouble. There is no room for fence sitting when 35% of your guaranteed pension has been unjustifiably stolen from your employer. There is no room for fence sitting when your colleague can't pay their bills and can't pay their mortgage. Right? So I hear you. Are you up for it? But what I actually want people to say, and I want people, if they're with me, to put this in the comments, say, I'm with my union. I am with my union. That's what I want you to say.
Great. I think that makes a lot of sense. And while they're doing that, Joe, can you tell us what else reps can do to help right now?
Yes.
Reps and members.
So there's loads. There's absolutely loads that you can do. So the first thing I would say is obviously some people, have been involved in their branches for a long time. There'll be all sorts of people on this live event, from a brand new member to a veteran of their branch. If you are not already active in your branch, and that can mean loads of different things. It doesn't mean necessarily, being on the committee. Approach the committee, send them an email, go to a meeting, see if they need you, become the rep in your department, become the rep in your kind of faculty, whatever the structure is in the place where you work. Get involved, get ready to vote. So we are doing a lot nationally. If you haven't updated your records, do that, those types of things. Talk to your colleagues if they don't realise that there's a ballot, if they've been on holiday for the past 2 weeks, because we are in sort of vacation period. Start talking to people about the 7th of September, and that from the 7th of September, the ballot that our postie is going to be looking out to put through our door, they should be looking for dropping as well. We know that when people vote, they tend to do it very quickly, or they tend to leave it for a long time. You be the buzz in people's ear to make sure that they know it's coming. Speak to every colleague that you have, whether that's you're in an open plan office, a corridor, a library. I know in Sheffield there used to be PhD students that had their offices in the corridors. Talk to everyone if they've left you in the corridor. Follow every social media that we have at UCU, amplify it. As I said, be active in your branch. There's going to be loads of posters being delivered to universities soon, but you'll also be able to print your own and put it in your workstation. Be active in a WhatsApp if you're in a branch one. Make sure you get people along to these meetings. Do attend meetings if you can. I know they're not for everybody. Host meetings if you can't get along to them, or if the ones that are happening aren't convenient for you and the people that you know in the branch. Host your own. Get in touch with the committee and say that you're going to put something on. All of those things are things that you can do.
Yeah. I mean, we've had some great responses in the chat. So who's with their union? I can see Daniel, Eva, Lucy, Colin, James, Lexi, Rebecca. They're all
Kitty.
That's Kitty, Nate.
Yeah. Bettina, Stefano, Lucy, Christopher, Olga, Liam, John, Lily, Lorraine.
Yeah, all with us.
They're all here. So I'm going to say I'm with my union. I would quite like, I'm voting yes now in the comments. If Lexi wants to do that, translate that comment.
Yeah. I'm voting yes.
I'm voting yes.
See how that does.
Yeah. And I think, the importance of this week is anger. But I did want to just say a thing about anger whilst we're seeing who's voting yes, because anger can be important. It can trigger emotions, it can trigger behavior, but anger, if not used, can breed resentment and bitterness. And our union has never been about those things, and this campaign is not about those things. So I just want to say something about using your anger and translating it into something positive, and not allowing the bureaucratic cruelty that we so frequently see in universities to actually, create that bitterness. So we're going to be using this anger to create that high turnout. So take how you feel from this meeting and talk to everyone you know. Because when we get that high turnout, which we can get in this national ballot and get everybody over the line together, we're going to have huge leverage. We're going to have historic leverage that we have not seen in recent years. And when we have that, we're going to be able to hammer our employers in a way that they usually reserve for hammering us. It will be completely different. And that is why I'm saying there's no real room for fence sitting. Inflation is sky high. Our colleagues, are on the floor. Our employers have made their intentions clear. They'd rather see vanity projects. They'd rather see 4.6 billion spent on vanity projects. They'd rather have £500,000 in their pocket every year. They'd rather live in £4.25 million grace and favour homes. Yes, that's our natural vice chancellor. Cambridge, I think, was the one. And they'd rather see our pay down by 25% since 2009. They have made their intentions clear. This ballot is about us making our intentions clear. So yeah, take your anger and make it into a whopping turnout for the union.
So let's have a look and see who's voting yes. So we have Grant, Emma, Roger, Rebecca, Eva, Mike, Sarah,
all of Ulster, just all of Ulster.
Lily, Steph, Sarah, Lena,
Joanna,
I'm sorry.
Mike.
So many, we
all of
can't
them.
really keep track.
Can't keep track.
Huge number of people voting.
And
yes.
all of Ulster is
Yeah.
a lot, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we like that.
Really
So it's been a really great session. I think it's probably coming to a close now, and just wanted to thank you, Joe, and really importantly, thank all of our members for joining. We need you to help us deliver this ballot. But before we go, I want to ask Joe, do you have any final words?
I do. First of all, it's been lovely having everyone on this call. This campaign is growing from strength to strength. We launched it 2 weeks ago. We're 2 weeks now from the ballot starting. For years now, you are the ones that have been helping this.
Those technical difficulties, and it turns out we've had one. Sorry about that. We were just saying, Joe, over to you for some final thoughts.
Yes, so there's a number of things that I want to say, but I'm going to start with just how amazing it is that everyone has been here this evening. This campaign is growing from strength to strength. We launched it 2 weeks ago. We're 2 weeks from the ballot landing now. Thousands of people are engaging in this campaign already, and it is the strength of this union, the strength of you as members, that is going to deliver the most historic yes and turnout this union's ever seen. We know our universities can well afford to pay us what we deserve. We know that there was no need for our pensions to be robbed the way that they were, but we also know from bitter experience that if we do not stand together, if we do not organise, if we do not fight for ourselves and our insecure, poorly paid, overworked colleagues, then nobody will. No political party is coming to save us. No benevolent vice-chancellor is going to give us a break. So I'm delighted to have you all here. I am delighted that this campaign is already outstripping any campaign that we've run, because together, in 6 short weeks, we're going to be already knowing that we've got well beyond where we need to be and generating the leverage that we need to win this dispute. So yes, stay angry for the beginning and the rest of this week, but make sure you do something with it and come back to the events that we've got in our ballot week, the week commencing the 5th of September, and take care of yourselves.